Hello everybody and welcome to Beelzebub's Buns channel. In this video, I want to take you behind the scenes of the recent Creepypasta thriller narrative setting that I made in Far Cry 5's map editing tool. If you're not a big fan of video games, but you like to listen to my creepypastas, then think of this video as me taking you to a location and where a movie was filmed, or a stage where a movie had a bunch of set pieces. If you have a setting that is very particular, for instance, a Western location where the movie is set in the 19th century, or a science fiction movie that takes place on another planet, the surrounding environment from buildings to terrain can just be set pieces. The buildings or homes of the old Western that are in the background don't have anything inside of them, and they may just be facades. That is very much the case with this environment that I made in Far Cry 5. Everything that I knew that was going to be in the frame, I paid a lot of attention to. But anything that wouldn't be in the frame or is blocked out of frame behind set pieces, I wouldn't worry so much about how they looked, as they were out of sight, out of mind. And this helps save a lot of time instead of building a huge forest with cliffs that are able to be seen at multiple angles. I only wanted to get what was going to be shown in the frame. This inherently saves resources for Far Cry 5's map editing mode. A great example is this river right here. It doesn't lead anywhere, but the illusion is that it goes somewhere out of frame. This foggy sphere that you see is just one tool that I used in order to embellish the amount of fog that is prevalent in the story. Though keep in mind that I have enabled bright environment lighting, so you can see easier in this video, whereas the creepypasta, Deadpan In Salem, uses a very different light environment setting. Here is an example of me having the ability to edit something as small as a bush. I'm able to move it wherever I want, from side to side to up and down. And here is the top of the waterfall. As you can see, there is no actual water running through the mountains and cascading down the rocks, because the viewer in the story would never be able to get the chance to see this. So, no need to put water here. Now that we have covered the first scene, we are going to be moving in chronological order to the plane crash scene. We are going to skip what is to the left of us right now because that set environment comes next. Here is the plane crash that our main character had to deal with. I was thinking back and forth on adding black smoke and more flames to the crash, as if excess fuel was still being burned up, but I decided on not making this scene appear too dramatic, as a forest fire is not of concern in the story. Instead, there is something even more sinister. Plus, I wanted the idea of the main character extinguishing the flames successfully to seem understandable, believable, manageable. Alright, now we are making our way to Adilyn's house. I'm going to explain that tombstone off to the left there in a moment, but if you look at the actual wall that goes up the driveway of Adilyn's house, you'll see that it ends right there and there's nothing else out here other than where the environment starts to break down. And inside the house there is an actual staircase, there are some walls, there are also some light switches and outlets, but there isn't any furniture, home products, or anything that would give life to the interior of the home. It's just like the first day moving into a new house. The reason for this is that this is a set piece in which the player cannot enter in through the doorway. Therefore, the vacant interior saves on resources. I knew how much detail I wanted in the little town of my creepypasta, Deadpan In Salem, so I saved as much resources as possible with Adilyn's house. I also wanted the viewer of my story to feel distant from Adilyn, and that is why you only see her house from the outside, even when you are right on her porch. Behind Adilyn's house, there is quite a bit of detail that was already placed there from the developers, but I knew I wanted a shot of Adilyn's house from the front. I added some objects up front that reveal Adilyn's character a bit more. Those of you who have seen Deadpan In Salem will notice the abundance of semiotics, one of them being it's an American story, and from this shot, I'm sure there are some clues. Here I'm showing you that Adilyn's truck, parked right outside her garage, is drivable. It's not static. For the garage, I wanted to touch up the exterior a little bit more, and inside, the developers had filled it in with objects that made pretty good sense, and I was happy with how it looked in the first place, although I did add a metal folding chair inside because I was considering different angles of the shot before finally deciding on what I wanted. The funny thing is about the garage is that the developers didn't put a door inside the doorway. So I actually went ahead and put a one-sided door. You can't exit out of it if you go inside the garage, but if you stand on the outside, you'll see the blue door there. And from the exterior shot, I think it looks pretty good. Now for the tombstone. I used the tombstone to establish a possible location for my preferred shot. Therefore, the tombstone is a marker. I was thinking of standing in front of it, then I used the fallen branch off to the side to mark my position that I should actually kneel between the tombstone and the fallen branch to get a better shot. As we make our way out of Adilyn's house set, you can see this entire map from a distance. And it's like finding a field out in the middle of nowhere and setting up different stages to make the creepypasta setting believable. Now we get to the little Oregon town that took me the longest to make out of all the different sets. This is the lake in which our main character comes from as he enters the town. I had the rib boat spawn here, and the main character made his way into town. The first place the main character goes to is to the diner, named Nick's Diner. And inside Nick's Diner are two NPCs, non-playable characters. In this town, I knew I had to control the main character's point of view as he walked into town, so I had to ensure everything looked appropriate from different angles, from the interior of the diner and the small town road. Now, since you're watching this video, I'll let you in on a little secret. In the bathroom of the diner, there is a dead body. Oh no. But because you've watched this, you know about this, and it's never mentioned in the actual story. You see this kitchen counter right next to the table? Well, I used it as a platform. That's why it's there, so I can crouch on top of it and get the view I wanted out of the window. But if I crouched on the ground and removed the chair and the cabinet, that's all I would see, and that wouldn't look good. I also couldn't have kept the chair that was originally there when the main character steps into the diner, because it wouldn't provide me a flat platform to record from. I had to get creative with my platform tricks. As you can see, this is the small road in which the character looks across at the crosswalk, so I had to be cognizant of making the cul-de-sac at the end of the road look believable and fitting, but there are some details that start to diminish as they are never going to be in the frame. Regardless of the areas that I didn't have to pay closer attention to when creating this environment, this town did take up a good amount of resources with the various structures, but I made all necessary decisions to save on resources, as this road actually doesn't go anywhere, it just goes straight into the hill. The grocery bait shop store is empty inside because the main character never actually enters the store in the story, Deadpan In Salem. This is my favorite scene that I made, and it was actually not going to be in the story in the first place because I had something else in mind. But I am happy that I made the lobby of the lodge in which our character in Deadpan In Salem stays in. As I had mentioned earlier in this video, the lighting has been changed for the sake of clarity, and the story has a different mood. What is funny about this set is that when I was finished, I put some fire effects inside the fireplace to finish up the scene, and as I was recording for only about 20 seconds, the flames in the fireplace actually caught the entire lodge lobby on fire, and the wooden clock up above would get destroyed, and I would have to refresh the set. I would then quickly get into position to start recording, as I only had about 20 seconds to get everything I needed, until the flames caught everything on fire again. So in the actual scene of Deadpan In Salem, there is a bit of clip editing trickery I did to get what I needed out of the lodge set. Still though, this is my favorite set that I have created, but because of the flame effects, that's why you only see a pulsating light in the fireplace instead of actual flames in this video, because I didn't want the entire place to catch on fire again as I make this video. The surrounding area, however, doesn't have any other rooms in the lodge that you can enter. It is just a walkway that goes down to the yard next to the lake. Now we get to the final environment set for my story Deadpan In Salem, and that is the main character's lodge room, The room is actually created in a completely different lodge for the sake of aesthetic appeal, and this actually saved me on resources too by recording in this other lodge. If I didn't do this, I would instead have had to have made my own square room, and I would have taken more time and resources to build a unique ceiling. Overall, I'm very happy with the decision I made to record the lodge room in a different lodge. And my most proud moment would have to be the window effect here. This is actually a fake sky that you see. I was going to have the surrounding area from the actual outside portion of the lodge be the view of our main character's lodge room. But given the situation of the story at this point where our main character goes into the lodge room, things are chaotic, and I wanted the outside to just be painful to look at. I was originally going to have a goldish looking hue from outside, but I wanted something more cold, and so I increased the blue and diminished a little bit of green color, and I took away a lot of red color in order to get the sky that I wanted. And I really like the way it turned out overall. I think it looks really good. Of course, this video was intended for the viewers to have already seen Deadpan in Salem, and then you would come and watch this to understand the decisions that I made for the story setting, and all of the decisions that I made for each individual set. I had a lot of fun creating Deadpan in Salem with all of the different environments that you see here, and I think I'll continue doing this for the rest of the creepypastas that I do. Go ahead and let me know if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.